Let that fuse and run. Whoa, let that fuse and run. Went off to college, but college done up me. Couldn't get my master's in truth and loyalty. Bang out the buzzword, teaching that blind man to sing. You might get the best of him, but you'll never fool me. Now, sweet talk to beanstalk, tail jack to go and fetch your bank. Try that and upstate boy to a different kind of scene. Went off to college, but college done up me. Couldn't get my master's in truth and loyalty. I said, whoa, light that fuse and run. I say, whoa, I am my father's son. Light that fuse and run. Whoa, light that fuse and run. But college done up me. Couldn't get my master's in truth and loyalty. Bang out the buzzword, teaching that blind man to say. You might get the best of him, but you'll never fool me. Now, sweet talk to beanstalk, tail jack to go and fetch your bank. Try that and upstate boy to a different kind of scene. Went off to college, but college done up me. Get my master's in truth and loyalty. I said, whoa, light that fuse and run. I said, whoa, I am my father.
What's up, Bills Mafia? Welcome to the K-Gun Report. I'm your host, Scott. Swank's got off for the night. We've got something fun in store tonight. Not a lot of Bills news to talk about, but we got a special panel, and we've got a fun conversation. Fan first perspective. So we definitely want the Bills Mafia, the fan base, tuning in tonight to chime in, leave a comment. Trust me, with the topic that we have for tonight and you chiming in, it'll definitely open it up for some conversation. So let me hit the intro, and we'll see you guys here in just a second. What's up, Bills Mafia? Like I said, my name is Scott. I'll be the host tonight on the K-Gun Report. I said we have a special panel, and I meant it. I have RT, host of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, co-host of 24/7 Buff Pandemonium Sunday Sessions, and much more. He's on a lot of other shows too. RT, welcome to the show. Say hi to the fam.
Hello, fan base. It is great to be here. We got a special topic for tonight that I'm really excited to dive into. Of course, Scott, of course, Jarrod, it is always a pleasure being on with you boys, talking all things Buffalo Bills football.
There you go. Welcome, RT. We love having you on the show. And below us, you all know him as Jarrod. There you go. Content creator for 24/7 Buff Pandemonium and the co-host of the K-Gun Report, my brother from the same mother. What's up, Jarrod?
Hey Ryan, hey Scott, hey Bills Mafia. Let's talk some let's go down memory lane and let's talk about the good times. What do you say? We are currently in good times, but let's talk about what got us here and what make look at you representing 24/7 Buff Pandemonium. There you go. I'm
love this
representing
shirt.
the
Very
unstoppable
comfy.
K-Gun
Oh, nice. Very nice.
with a very snug shirt.
There you
Hey, FLX Mafia, welcome. I'm sitting here between Cupid and Canandaigua and Seneca Lake. I love it all. Go Bills, let's do it.
See, Jared, that's what's awesome about this kind of live stream is that we got from the shoulders up, and we're all pretty stocky shoulder kind of guys, so no one can tell that we're all carrying the dad bods down below. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Tonight's topic, guys, like I said, it's a fun one. We've got until July 24th until training camp starts, so we have a little bit of time before the action starts. We're on school break. The players are all on school break, so I thought of a fun opportunity to come up with the panel, a good show for the Fandemonium to join in and talk about our favorite Buffalo Bills moments. Obviously, there's age range. I think RT just turned 25 this past year. Actually, you're just over 30, right? You're like 32, something like that?
32. Yep, turned 32 in April.
And myself and Jarrod are both 43, just turned in May. And obviously our panel, we know you guys, or not panel, but the fans watching, we know you guys enough to know that the age range goes from very young to, I think a couple of games were watched in the 70s. So favorite Buffalo Bills moments, I do want to tie in real quick, guys. We are part of the Buff Fan Base Network. And so is the Thomas Take Sports podcast, as Ryan Thomas is the host of. We joined them a couple years ago. Very, very fun. And we're happy to be part of this relationship. They got a lot of stuff going on. A lot more shows are going to start going on. And Justice General was actually on the show a couple weeks ago. And he kind of alluded to memorabilia and merchandise and giveaways and all that stuff. So if you want to know more about that, tap us all into social medias. Thomas Take Sports Podcast, 24/7 Buff Fandemonium, and the Buff Fan Base, for real. I got a whole bunch of comments coming in, guys. This is what Swank has mentioned it before. The comments that come in during this off season is just crazy. We're already up over 200 people watching. Corey Blaine says, "Ready for a great show, boys. Let's go Buffalo." There you go, John Johns. Hello, Mafia peeps. Hello, John Johns. Patrick Hughes. What's up, Mafia? Let's get cracking and ready to rock and roll. There you go. I got the Langenkugel's Summer Shandy. I know, RT, you're a big blue light drinker. You got one with you at this evening?
At this current time, no. I might have to call the girlfriend in here and have her bring me one while we are chatting about our memories. Gotta have a blue light nearby. Gotta.
Well, she's watching the show. You just told her, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That, and she's in the other room, so she could probably hear me.
Doug Augie, thank you, my friend. Best day of the off-season week. Happy Tuesday, Mafia. Jamie Norris and Uncle James drinking PBR for Swank. There you go.
There you go.
Swank actually just had a moving in party. His house finished up a couple months back, so he finally had that housewarming party.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah, very nice. Very nice house and home that him and Sarah have. Alberto! Hello, everyone. Hello, Alberto. Love seeing that name. Let's go through these comments more. Josh Cook, what's up, my dudes?
Hey.
Mary
Yeah,
Josh.
I had Dad Cider lined up for today's show, but we have a going away party for one of the medical groups beside us, and I had way too much buffalo chicken dip and meatballs, and I didn't even eat dinner because I'm so full. And before we were tuning in, we were getting the sound check going. I was like, Scott, man, I'm still kind of feeling heavy from dinner, so I'm going to drink something to calm my tummy here with a little ginger ale.
There you go.
A little Canada Dry, nothing wrong with that.
The added sugar with the grape or the raspberry, whatever flavor that is. There you go. Mary Jane Hughes, good evening. Good evening, Mary Jane. John's again. What's up, guys? Christian.
RT with an RT shout out. What's up, Chris?
There you go. Hollering. Patrick Hughes, Ryan, still no fantasy trophy. Patrick Hughes is part of the 24/7 Buff Fandemonium fantasy that should be starting. The crap should probably start talking soon here.
Yeah, the win last year is really all that counts, and that was from yours truly. In case Patrick forgot who the champ was, he's tuning in right now.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that counts, right? There's so many injuries, so many trades that happen, and in a lot of my leagues, I don't know about you, RT, but a lot of my leagues, sometimes the guy that ends up with like a 7-6 record ends up being the guy holding the trophy up.
Yeah, that's I've won a couple leagues that way for sure.
Yep.
It always seems to end up like that.
Mahoman from YouTube says
Mahoman.
many favorite Bills moments. And that's the topic of today, guys. I want you guys to, as we're having this conversation, chime in your favorite moments, and we'll talk about it. I already see one Frank Reich 35-point comeback. I'm sure we'll be talking about that.
Scott, I mentioned this to you yesterday. Do you want to do because we know the age range of the Mafia, like start in the 60s and see if anybody has any memories from there and then work our ways up?
I don't know. I'd rather
just throw them out there.
I want to keep it kind of like just an open conversation because I'm imagining we're gonna have a lot of the same memories, just different stories to go with it. So it's like open. This is an open conversation, guys.
I got you. I got you.
You know what I mean, brother? Kevin Kanye, go Bills. Glad to see you guys. Brent Thomason. There's a name we haven't seen in a while. Get the Kraken.
Get the Kraken. I love that.
I love it too.
I gotta get one. I'll get one by the end of the show.
Shane Becker says, listening to Von Miller at work when Flutie rolled out to win the game against the Jags, the whole plant went crazy. Hey, that's one of mine. That's one of mine.
I was there, Scott. We were there.
Yep.
That was one of mine too. I get a fun story with that.
Okay.
Very fun story.
That was the same one. Mahoman says, my favorite Bills moment. There are many. 91 AFC Championship game. And then the Bills demolished the Raiders. Yes, that 51-3 game. Put Steve Tasker in the Hall of Fame. I think we're all there, guys.
Yes.
And then Lou RQ, he was a guy that was from upstate New York, just recently moved out to Denver, Colorado. He has adjusted to the time change. Welcome, Lou.
Hey, Lou.
Nice.
Welcome,
That's
Lou.
awesome.
All right, guys. So let's get this conversation going, right?
Yes.
It's a fun one to have. Like I said, we are part of the Buff Fan Base Network, but we are also sponsored by 26 Shirts. Del Reed has some awesome stuff going on out there, guys, and crew. He's got a whole slew of people working for him, coming up with shirt designs and creating fun memorabilia and extra merchandise for all of us. We pay for it. We're donating to a family in Western New York to help them out any way we can. I think they're closing in on $2 million total money raised, which is pretty freaking awesome. So if you haven't yet, start your collection now. 26shirts.com. They have things for all tastes and flavors out there. They got a pretty creative crew for sure. Favorite memories. All right, since Jarrod, actually, we got to go with the guest first. I was going to go, since you're 2 years older than me, I was going to go, let's go with the eldest of the group. But
2 minutes older.
Yeah, we'll go with the young buck of the group, RT. Let's have a fun show. We're filling that void. It's the boring time of year. Tell us your favorite Buffalo Bills memories, my friend. Or start with one. We'll go from there.
Start with one. Yeah. So your favorite memories typically are like the first thing that made you kind of fall in love with whatever it is, whether it's football, baseball, like that's the one that's etched in my brain. The first one that I think of is the rise of Doug Flutie, the re-arrival of Doug Flutie in the National Football League with the Buffalo Bills, and the Johnson-Flutie, quarterback battle, quarterback controversy. I remember I was only about 7 or 8 during that time. And I remember that was when I really started watching the Buffalo Bills. And my grandpa got me so in tune with the team, telling me all the players. I'd have like the newspaper with their depth chart on it and stuff like that. And Doug Flutie was their backup to start this season. They thought Rob Johnson was going to be the guy. Rob Johnson gets hurt. Doug Flutie comes in, lights the world on fire. And I'll never forget the Music City Miracle announcement where they announced that Rob Johnson was going to start that game. And watching that, it was actually on Sports Center. Ron Jaworski, who's got local ties, I think he's from Lackawanna or Lancaster, one of the two, and he was just shocked that they decided to go with Rob Johnson in that game. And I remember Eric Moulds talking in the locker room saying that the whole team was shocked that they were going with Johnson over Flutie, given that Flutie helped get them there. And watching that game end the way that it did, Andre Dyson running down the sideline, you could actually see Flutie sitting on his helmet in just befuddlement that this is how this season ends for me. That's a memory that's etched in my brain. And I got the chance to meet Doug Flutie at a signing event. And I walked up to him, got his autograph. Then I also kind of sat near him while I was eating, and I got to talk to him about that while we were at the bar, which was really cool at Batavia Downs. And he said, I didn't make the decision to get benched. I don't think it was Wade Phillips' decision either. But nonetheless, it went down in the history books.
Mm-hmm. Man, I was gonna say a lot of good
Crazy.
memories with a lot of bad memories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jarrod,
it's hard. It's really hard to think back on that and think good, and then it ended not so good.
Yeah, Jarrod, I was gonna start with this one, but I think you're gonna go there. Let's keep on the Doug Flutie conversation. Do you have a memory of Doug Flutie?
Just to jump on, what RT had to say, the guy made things happen. With his stature, he was an uphill battle his whole career, and even afterwards, he had to ask questions about it. And I know you guys are about 5'8", 5'9". You guys both played QB, I think, too. So I know you guys look up to him for a lot of, if he can do it, I can do it. But I just remember back in the 90s there when he was playing, it was he was always in the game, and he always had a great chance to win it. And it's fitting that the miracle happened against a non-Flutie led team, because if Flutie was in there, it might not even have been that close, but he might have been the one leading the comeback. Mm-hmm. And that's just how Flutie was. Great player. He's one of those players who was there a couple of years, but he's always going to be close to the Buffalo Bills' heart.
And I'm going to jump right on that coattail. You're right. Being a 5'8" quarterback, it was
You're 5'9".
Yeah, 5'9". Okay. My memory was the game that we actually went to, Jarrod. It was in October. It was Doug Flutie, the Buffalo Bills playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. We were in the away stands, and just to see him come in, I remember being hyped about it because at that time I'm quarterback, 5'9". This guy, he's gonna do something. Optimistic Bills fans. This guy is gonna show all of us short quarterbacks that we can play the position. And that last drive, I remember it because we were down. We had to go 75 yards. There was only 2 minutes left on the clock. And it wasn't just Flutie doing Flutie things and running around and making things happen. He like dinked and dunked and completed balls over the center like everyone told him he couldn't do. He can't see past that line. And drove down 73 yards, ended up with a botched run play where he bootlegged around the left side, took it in for a touchdown. And I think that changed a lot of mindsets for the shorter quarterbacks in high school, even in the college, to say, hey, if this guy can do it, so can freaking I. And I love Doug Flutie for that, and I will always remember that part of the Doug Flutie era. And that was actually his first touchdown in 10 years since his last touchdown rushing for the Buffalo Bills. So that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Jamie Norson says, Flutie has the biggest heart. He sure does. Brent Thomason I was at the game, long ride back, Tennessee. Okay, he was at the Music City Miracle. Yeah. Oof. Oh. I'm going to throw in some of ours, guys, before we transition to the next one. Jarrod, you're going to be next, so think about what you're going to talk about. Kevin Kanye, watching OJ, the juice is on the loose. We all remember, we don't remember, but we all see videos and highlights of that 1973 season where the juice ran for over 2,000 yards. He beat out Jim Brown for total rushing yards in the season. But we got to remember it was only 14 games. And I got a question for you guys.
They knew he was getting the ball, too.
Yes.
They had no other offense.
Yeah, they did.
I got a question for the both of you guys. Yeah, that's all he was. And they knew it. They said, I remember in videos that they mentioned, the line said that they knew that we were running the ball, and that's what we wanted to do. OJ, the juice. This is for you guys. What did the juice refer to, if you remember?
Oh, I know. I got this one. It's kind of a pun on the OJ name, but the juice was what supplied the electricity to the electric company of that offensive line, which to me, there is a lot of guys on that offensive line that should get much more recognition than what they do, like Reggie McKenzie, Joe DeLamalure. And what was really cool was when OJ ran for the 2,000 yards, he had already pre-ordered and purchased really, really expensive Rolex watches. and he had etched in the watches the total amount of yards that they ran for as a team, not his 2003 yards. It was like 2,000, 400, whatever, total team rushing yards from scrimmage that were etched in those watches. I think that is a really classy move, from a teammate to another teammate. I really liked hearing that. When I heard that, I thought that's pretty awesome. And Joe D still has that Rolex watch, and I know that for certain. So that's pretty awesome.
I know that's a pretty good memory for those that were able to watch him back in the day. And that's a record, obviously, because of the length of schedule now, that will never, ever be touched. It is forever marked in the record books, for sure. Buffalo Spartan says, just a bit late tonight, but what up, boys? Mafia, mount up. This is Sparta. Hey, Jared's pointing at me to remember to do that.
I knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
Kevin Kanye says, I met Joe D. in Canton at the Hall of Fame. Great guy. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first autographed jersey.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one to have.
Oh, yeah. All right, Jared. Our team went first, brought up the Music City Miracle and Doug Flutie. Where are you taking this conversation?
I'm going to take it back to way back, and this is not really so much a game, but like what happened in the game, but what game it was is my first game ever. August 4th, 1995, Steelers versus the Bills, the preseason game. My mom and dad took me to this game. First game ever. The only thing I remember from it, there's two things I remember from this game. One is Derek Holmes, running back, number 44. That's the reason why I wore the number 44. He scored a touchdown right in front where we were sitting, celebrated a little bit. I was like, I love that guy. Second memory from that game. This is August 4th, 1995, my first game. I was sitting outside of the stadium. Dad said, you want to hang out and see what happens? We said, yes. All of a sudden, these players all coming out. Kevin Green comes over and signs a kid's autograph right by me, right? And I go, Hey, Kevin, can I get an autograph? Or Mr. Green. I probably said Mr. Green. He goes, wrong colors, buddy, because he was with Steelers. He moves on, and then right behind him, Mark Maddox goes, I'll sign your hat. So he signed my hat. So Mark Maddox was my first ever in-person autograph in my hat, and we still have it. I think Scott actually has it in the man cave there.
That's awesome.
And then 25 years later, RT, we got a great friendship with Mark now, and he came up to the Rager 3 years ago, and my dad had a hat, and he said, can you sign my hat? So my dad came full circle. That's really cool. It's just an awesome memory. August 4th, 1995.
Well, I just took off, Jerry, because I was looking for the hat. I also have the ticket stubs of that game that we went to.
Yeah, nice.
That's so cool.
Couldn't find it.
So first game. First game. Yep.
RT, what was your first game?
My first game was the first, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the next memory that I have. So obviously, as a fresh fan in the post Doug Flutie, or kind of Doug Flutie, Rob Johnson, that didn't work out. Obviously, Rob Johnson didn't work out. So the next quarterback was really important. The Bills had to get a guy that was rock steady and someone that they could rely on. And with the fallout of Drew Bledsoe losing his job to Tom Brady and the rise of Tom Brady, Buffalo makes a trade to get Drew Bledsoe. And I was ecstatic. I was at my cousin's graduation party. And I remember specifically, like, my grandpa smiling ear to ear saying, we finally got a guy that I think can actually lead them all the way outside of Jim Kelly, since Jim Kelly. Because even Flutie was only going to be here for a little bit. Rob Johnson was never somebody that my grandpa or I really liked. So we went with Bledsoe as our guy. And that was our guy, obviously, being the quarterback for the Bills. So the first game that I went to was one of the best games in Buffalo Bills history, which was Buffalo versus New England, as well as the Buffalo Bills debut of Lawyer Malloy. And that was a 31-0 drubbing where I was literally sitting about 5 or 6 rows up from that sideline that Sam Adams ran down on that fumble recovery for a touchdown. And Sam Adams was running a lot faster than it looked on TV. Honestly, I was shocked at how fast he could move. And that's when I started to realize these guys are 1% of 1% for a reason. A guy that big should not be able to run like that. So that was the beginning of the Bledsoe era. I still have a couple Drew Bledsoe posters from back when I was in 5th grade when they made that trade. And I was one of many kids in Emmett Belknap Middle School out in Lockport at the time that had a Drew Bledsoe jersey. He was my
Nice.
guy. I loved Drew Bledsoe, and many years later, I got the chance to meet him too. And his hands are the largest hands I've ever shaken in my life. His hand like engulfed my hand, but he said I had a firm handshake, so that was a nice compliment.
Drew Bledsoe, man, when he played, he had outstanding numbers. It's just one of those lots of years where the Bills' defense wasn't actually there. You know, they kind of faltered, but Drew and Molds and all those guys, they had. I think that's the first time that the Bills had 2 1,000-yard receivers was with Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, it was Molds and Price were really good, and he broke a lot of Jim Kelly's records in 2002, franchise-wise, and I was really let down when they let him go. You know, a year later they went out and drafted JP. I'll mention a little bit about that as we go along, but of course Drew Bledsoe, I got a lot of respect for him. I was really happy to see him kind of back in the spotlight. Even in that Tom Brady roast, I thought he handled it really well. I thought he was hilarious. So it was cool. I've always been a fan of him, and I always will be.
I just saw a recent video of Drew Bledsoe throwing the ball across his pool to whoever was catching it. He still got it. I
think he always will. He's just a natural athlete, former first overall pick for a reason, right?
San Diego State?
I think Washington State.
Washington State,
yeah, Washington State.
Swank, do you happen to have that Sam Adams Sports Illustrated? Or I called you Swank. RT, do you have that?
The Sports Illustrated, my dad has it. Okay. I don't have that one. My dad's got it.
I think I might have one.
I do.
If I have one, I think I might have one. I'll send it your way.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
There you go. Corey Blaine says, I still have my Sam Adams jersey from high school.
Nice.
Sweet.
The keg.
The keg. Yeah. Getting a lawyer, Malloy, that same offseason. Yeah, that was a crazy offseason. Huge. That was your first game, man. They got spikes then, too.
Yes.
Right? Posey was the outside linebacker. That was a nasty.
They had some really good players on defense, and obviously Eric Molds was my dude and always will be my dude. That was one of the first players I really loved watching, as well as Flutie. But, yeah, and Peerless Price, those guys were so much fun to watch.
They were.
Now, we have a smart following. So, guys, I don't know the answer. Maybe you guys do, if you could help me out with this. I do know one stat I want to throw to Jarrod and RT. Do you know what happened? We started off by beating the Patriots 31-0. Do you know what the end of the season ended up being like?
Yeah,
we
lost to the
same
Patriots
thing
31-0
in Foxborough.
Yeah, they flipped it on us.
Yeah, we lost 31-0. Now, the question I have for the fans watching and commenting was that a year that the Patriots made the Super Bowl and win it?
No, I don't think so.
I just can't remember.
It was 2002. So that was the year that the Raiders and Bucks went, and Rich Gannon had like a barn burner year. But then in the Super Bowl, he was throwing picks like they were going out of style. Like he could not complete a pass to his team. Poor guy.
Right.
Poor guy.
I know.
Poor guy. Oh, it's all. I was rooting for them too because Jerry Rice was. I wanted to see him get another one. And
does that give the other Rob? What was the Tampa Bay's Rob Johnson? Was that a Rob Johnson too?
Yep.
Tampa Bay, he was
that
their
gave
backup.
him the Super Bowl win, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, he had a long neck. He used to play for Minnesota, number 14. I think he played for Washington as well.
Was it? His name was Rob Johnson too, right?
Yeah,
they had a Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson,
yeah,
that's it. Yep.
Brad Johnson. Yep.
So that just goes to show you that not all great quarterbacks win Super Bowls. Some are kind of trash.
Trent Dilfer.
Same time.
Same exact time. That was great.
Oh, yeah. Brad Johnson, Mike Volk just chimed in. Thanks, Brad. Yep. Guys, I'm going there. One of my favorite moments was the Bills comeback. By far, one of the Bills comeback. Jarrod and I were 13, 14 years old, 12 years old. I can't remember the age. But it was the comeback playoffs. It's still the biggest comeback in NFL history in the playoffs. I know just recently Minnesota had a comeback, but that was regular season. And the reason is because it was another family moment. It was my dad had one of his good friends over. Was it Bobby, Jarrod? I think it was Bobby Masline.
Bobby or Jack, yep.
Yep. And
nice.
Jared and I, you're gonna laugh. Jared and I our bedrooms were all decked out Buffalo Bills. Could you imagine? So it was playoff
Really?
time. It was playoff time, man. So we would run upstairs about half an hour before the game start. We'd pull down all our blankets, pull down all the pillows, all the posters, and just decorate. Now this is when an entertainment system was the big old wooden one with the boxes that you filled in. We would decorate the whole thing. So we're watching this Bills game against the Houston Oilers. And Jim Kelly's not playing. Bennett's not playing. A whole bunch of injuries, but we're still optimistic Bills fans going, we got this. We got this. And it was halftime, 28-3. And we're getting our butts kicked. So if at that age, Jared and I, if we weren't watching football, we were playing football. So I remember us going outside, Jared. It was snowy outside, and just pretending that we were doing a comeback of our own. And it wasn't long until my dad came out, opened the screen door, and said, hey, boys, you might want to come in here. And that was the start, obviously, after the Frank Reich interception and all that stuff that put us down even further. And Don Beebe had scored a touchdown. And then Jim Kelly scored a touchdown. And then the more videos you watch, Bruce Smith said something along the lines of at halftime they adjusted, deciding to just play a base 3-4 defense instead of anything special because they couldn't stop Moon. They couldn't stop Jeffries and all that stuff. Lorenzo White was a running back. They could not do it. So all of a sudden these touchdowns start piling in, and Frank Reich is just diming it. We got away with one with Don Beebe stepping out of bounds and coming in and scoring, and it just kept piling on. Defense getting turnovers, and it was just one of my favorite memories is just Bills fans all together. My dad, one of them, you could feel the energy changing. And you ask Bills fans that were live then, 1 million of them showed up to that game to watch the end of the game.
Only a million.
I'd
say it's like 5 million.
I heard 4.
But just
4.3.
But just all the stories that went along with it that you knew going into it, all the injuries. And then at halftime, you hear Marv Levy stop Frank Reich and say, hey, I heard you had led the greatest comeback in college history when he played for Maryland. And he looked right at Frank Reich and he said, you're gonna have the greatest comeback in NFL history. And that's documented. Marv Levy said he said that. And I was like, oh man, to be there. The team knew it after the first drive, after they still had a feeling that they were in that game to win it. And I'll tell you what, up and down roller coasters of a season, this is how Bills fans are. We go through the tough stuff, and they came out with a victory, and that was such a freaking awesome win. I'll never forget that day.
Yeah, it goes, the memories of that are very few and far between for me because I was
You were a year old.
about yay high. Yeah, I was really small. But I will say, to add a little bit of comedic relief, I was a huge fan of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, even as like a little kid. Okay, but I didn't really know what to do with them. So like my mom would give me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'd eat it for like 2 seconds, and then it would end up somewhere else, like that it was not supposed to be. That day, it ended up in my grandfather's like state-of-the-art entertainment radio. So I put it in the machine as if it was like a cassette tape, but it was a sandwich.
Geez.
So my grandpa was not happy with me that day, but he was happy that the Bills were winning and that he could listen to it on the radio because it was blacked out. You couldn't, in certain parts, I believe, you couldn't watch it, so you could only listen to it on the radio. Mm-hmm. And at that time, obviously we have been so blessed as Buffalo sports fans with Rick Jeanneret and Van Miller. I mean, that's where the fandemonium term kind of became as iconic as it is because of that game, and many others that team was able to pull off, and get the W.
Mm-hmm. We lived right in the spot where we could get channels from Rochester and Syracuse, and I think the Buffalo Rochester area was blacked out, but we were able to get the Syracuse channel. So
gotcha. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, because I remember my grandpa specifically telling me that he had to watch it. It was on like the highlights were on like NBC News because the news, like the national news, could not believe that there was a comeback like that in pro football, no less. Mm-hmm. So we took the national spotlight that day.
There we go.
That's for sure.
There you go. I'm glad you brought up Van Miller. Patrick Hughes growing up having a TV on and the volume muted because we watched the same with Van Miller on the radio. There's good memory. Memory lane is hearing that voice. Mike Price, Jared, one of our friends in high school. I remember he actually tuned us into that concept. It's like, wait a minute, we don't have to listen to it on TV. Let's listen to this guy that's a lot more animated.
Mike didn't even watch it on TV.
Right.
He went to his bedroom and just listened on the radio.
Yep. Kevin Kanye, I had to work that day and listen to Van Miller go bananas on the radio. Oh, yeah. No,
that's awesome.
Megan Culpa brings up a memory. I remember that game. My grandma sent my brother and I sweatshirts because we didn't live in the area. And mine says, we go to Reich one, baby. We got the Reich one, baby. There you go. We got the Reich one, baby. It was a play of the Pepsi slogan at the time. Where we were, no one understood it, but it was wore proudly. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. And, you know, we all thought when Frank Reich was brought into Carolina as a new franchise to be their quarterback there, I thought he was going to be successful there. I was hoping for him. Lots of games in Rochester did get blacked out again. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mike Folks, I was blacked out of Buffalo, which sucked. I was at Galleria Mall.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Nice memories. I'm gonna pull up some old ones that we got to be thankful for, guys. None of us were around during that time, but let's see if any of the listeners could remember any of these. Obviously, 1951, 59. So thankful for that Ralph Wilson founded the Buffalo Bills. I actually looked this up. We weren't the first team he wanted, the location. Can you guys tell me where the first location he wanted to build a team?
Miami, wasn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
Miami, yeah.
He wasn't getting it. That fell through. So he sent Lamar Hunt a telegram that said, count me in with Buffalo.
There you go.
And the rest is history.
That's what they call badass.
Yeah. Yep. And
he's like, you know what? I didn't get one city, but I'm gonna put a team in it. Those guys had some big money for back in those days. They spent it well. Their investment was worth it. I think it's safe to say.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Vogt, I'm sorry I'm putting it up there, Mike, not because you got it wrong, but because you said Detroit. It's funny that you said that because Ralph Wilson actually brought Detroit's colors to Buffalo. So their first couple seasons were.
I'm going to debunk that, bro. I'm going to debunk that. Those colors that we all think came from Detroit, those colors came from the original Buffalo team in the 1950s.
Oh, Buffalo,
so
yeah.
Those teams, because Buffalo did have the Buffalo Bisons. They were there for 2 years, and then the community voted for Buffalo Bills, and then they got lost in transaction because then the NFL wanted to bring 4 out of the 9 teams into their league, and Buffalo got booted. And that was in the early 1950s, and that's what the colors were for them. Then when they came back in the 59, he used the inaugural season to show respect to the team that was there originally. And then the standing buffalo with a single red helmet came along. That's a beautiful helmet. I wish they'd wear that every once in a while, but there you go. Nope, I always thought it too, and then I did research.
Damn.
There you go.
There you go. You learn something new every day. 64 and 65 AFC champions. I know Jared got in an argument with someone last year about complaining about Buffalo, how they've never won a championship game. Yes, in the NFL, they have not won the Super Bowl, but if you're counting the team as a professional football team, 64 and 65 right before that Super Bowl started, Bills won two in a row. And if you ever can watch footage of that, the first one they played against the Chargers, and it's noted as the hit around the world. That might be the memory that some people can bring back. Running back went out for a slant or a swing pattern, and the linebacker came, perfectly timed it out. Hit around the world. The Buffalo Bills were losing 7-0 at that time. They turned it around after that hit, and they won 20-7 to win their very first AFL
Mike Stratton lowers the shoulder. Yep.
Running back's name was Lindsey.
So here's a little nugget for all you. Go ahead.
That was very pre-Matt Milano hit against Mike White. Very similar hit. Lower the shoulder, right in the midsection, clean, all clean.
Oh yeah.
There's the nugget for all Bills fans, as you can say, our Buffalo Bills won 2 championship games before the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Jets won 1.
That's true. It's true.
Our team wasn't existing then.
Yeah, you know what? It is, going back and looking at that before the AFL and NFL merged, I will say there was like an NFL or there was a AFL championship that they won it, I believe in 67, they would have then played Green Bay for the first Super Bowl.
Yep.
So, but they lost to the Chiefs, unfortunately.
Yep.
I will say that. I hate to say that, but it's part of history.
But
we were there.
This is a true part. Kevin Kanye throws out some knowledge here. Ralph Wilson actually helped save the AFL and teams folding such as the Raiders. That's a big to do right there.
Have you guys? I don't know if you guys have you guys been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame before?
No,
Have
have
not
not.
yet.
No. I will tell you when you go, make sure that it's soon, because it's really awesome. But when you go, there's different footballs that represent different eras, and like I got to actually like hold like an AFL style football and like the NFL style football from the 60s. Two completely different. Like the AFL football is like bulky, but it's
Fatter.
kind of longer, yeah, fatter. And Joe Namath famously said that the reason why he was so successful was because that ball was built for the passing game, and that's why guys like him, Jack Kemp, were so successful because
Mhm.
they could cut through the wind with that football. Whereas in the NFL, it took them a little bit of time to kind of get adjusted to the difference in the ball. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah,
That makes sense.
the evolution of the balls, and now if you're Tom Brady, they actually deflate them.
That's true.
I just want to go over a couple more memories, just Buffalo Bills past, not my personal. And then RT, do you have another one lined up? You got another?
Oh
memory?
yeah, oh yeah.
All right.
I got another one. Yep.
I think Mike Vogt alluded to the 1988 AFC champs. The goalpost game is when the goalposts were torn down. It was the first AFC championship in 8 years. And then I'm going to jump to the next goalpost being torn down. It was 1980. This game against the Miami Dolphins is the first game of the season. Bills fans had to watch Miami destroy them for 20 straight games, 10 years straight. They did not beat the Miami Dolphins in the 70s. 1980, Buffalo Bills finally get over that hump, beat the Miami Dolphins for a victory. Joe Cribbs was the running back, 131 rushing yards. Pretty sweet. And then, yeah, I'm just coming up to where we have our memories, not the ones that are told and taught. Guys, I want to tell you guys, your comments are kicking butt. You guys are doing a good job with comments. Again, love the memories coming in on your end. I'm sharing the best I can. I do want to bring light to the tracker down below. 24/7 Buff Pandemonium is having their regular season rager again this year. August 31st at Reinvention Brewing, 3 o'clock to 9 p.m. We have Retro Taco for food. Mark Maddox is coming out. We've got a beer release. We've got a bunch of fun stuff going on. Can't wait for you all to be there. Book it now. August 31st, regular.
Full size Josh Allen has signed autograph helmet.
Yep. Door prize. You walk in, you pay $5, you're automatically entered to win. This isn't it, but it's the standing Buffalo one with Josh Allen's autograph on there.
I made that helmet.
Yep. We are part of the Buff Fan Base Network. If you haven't checked them out, like, share, subscribe to them. They've got great things going on over there. They're also part of the 26 shirts. They're our sponsor, and they're affiliated big time with the Bills Mafia, Buff Fan Base. Hit up their website, 26shirts.com. Spend your money, get new merch, new swag, and help a family out in Western New York. Del Reed and crew are doing a great job over there. So the Swank will be back next week. So we'll have a great show next week as well, just so you guys know.
We won't be there, just Swank.
So we'll see what Swank's bringing to the table. And let's go down memory lane again. RT, bring us one. Let's talk about a memory.
Oh, man. This one goes back to 2009, 50th season in Buffalo Bills franchise history. The Bills were not the franchise then that they are today. They were consistently mediocre. I hate to put it that way, but it's just facts. Hadn't made the playoffs in a while. Dick Duran was like drinking a full bottle of NyQuil each and every press conference. I remember walking up the steps of my middle school, listening to GR on my iPod or whatever it was that I had, and I almost fell asleep walking up the steps listening to Dick Duran's press conferences. He was god-awful. But I will say that day, I knew something was coming. It was NFL free agency, and I walked home to I walked to my buddy Nick's house, and it was just when I got my first cell phone. It was an MV2. Do you guys remember the MV? You flipped it and had the keyboard and all that?
Yeah.
So it buzzed like 5 times in a row. And I'm like, what the heck? Get texts from like my mom, my brother. And then I got 3 texts from like the Bills, the NFL, and ESPN that the Buffalo Bills signed all-pro wideout Terrell Owens to a 1-year deal. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it because I always had like a love-hate relationship with T.O. I thought he was a great player, but the personality stuff I wasn't really a fan of. But as soon as the Bills signed him, of course, I was his biggest fan because I wanted him to do well here. He then had like the T.O. show on VH1 where it showed him coming to Buffalo, and there was like thousands of fans waiting for him at the airport. And I will say, a lot of fans look back on that, and I think that they get it wrong. I think Terrell Owens, the 1 year that he was here, could have been a lot better had it started with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Instead, it started with Trent Edwards, and Edwards was cut early in the season. They went with like Brian Brom. Then they found Fitz, obviously, as the right fit. Mm-hmm. And Fitz was getting him the ball any chance he could. That was like the first version of the Amish rifle that we got to see, where he was willing to just throw the rock wherever. And T.O. was usually open. And I was really disappointed as a fan when Buddy Nix came on board, and Buddy Nix just unequivocally said that they weren't bringing him back, that they were going to let him test free agency. I thought that was a mistake. I thought that he could have and should have had another year. I thought he earned another year. And I thought it was actually a really good move. It boosted the profile of the franchise, which it really needed at the time. And he did come with credentials. The guy, Hall of Fame player and one of the best wide receivers of all time. So that was a moment that I'll never forget. Seeing that they had signed him, turning on ESPN, Russ Brandon leads the press conference, and then T.O. comes out. He's wearing like a black jacket, a green polo, and a red Bills hat. It did not match. It did not make sense. But at the same time, I thought to myself, this is the move that this team needs to get better. This is a move that's going to help them get better. And I think it did. It didn't lead to the result of making the playoffs, but it provided a lot of excitement that the Bills Mafia at the time desperately needed.
Oh, yeah. And you're right. He did have it. He went on to Cincinnati the next year and had like 70 catches, almost 1,000 yards, and a bunch of touchdowns. So that could have been something the Bills could have done. Their wide receivers at the time were Roscoe Parrish, James Hardy. Remember that name? Mm-hmm. Josh Reed, one of my favorite slot receivers that really didn't turn out to be much. And, yeah, they needed that talent there.
And they had Lee Evans too, and I thought him and Lee were like perfect to complement one another. And the first time I ever heard of a guy by the name of Stevie Johnson was at St. John Fisher, the Connor and Ferris training camp, which it still is, I believe, sponsored by. Terrell Owens said that they have a lot of talent in this wide receiver room, and one of the first names he mentioned was Stevie Johnson. And Stevie Johnson was buried on the depth chart at that time. He was a rookie, late round draft pick. So that was kind of a precursor. T.O. saying that he noticed something in Stevie Johnson. I thought, who is this guy? Mm-hmm. And then we'd come to know Stevie Johnson really well in his own right.
Oh yeah. A couple other trades that are pretty memorable. Shady coming to Buffalo. Mm-hmm. I don't know many people that weren't excited about that one. Mario Williams was also another big trade that happened that brought a lot of excitement to Buffalo, and obviously the most recent, Stephon Diggs. Can you guys think of any other trade? Obviously, Takeo Spikes, Malloy, anyone that brings back memories. T.O. for you, RT. Jarrod, did you have?
I wasn't really into all of it, but Cornelius Bennett coming to the Buffalo Bills was a huge one.
Yeah, from the trade with the Colts. Yeah,
I think it was with the Colts, right?
Bennett.
Yeah, Bennett.
Yeah.
Yep. Man,
Jerry Hughes also came from the Colts with a trade of here's RT. You might know this one. Who was the linebacker that the Buffalo Bills had? Played from LSU. I was excited for. There you go.
I really like Kelvin Shepherd. I remember when they traded him. I'm like, they're basically first round or second round busts at the time. That's really, truthfully, Jerry Hughes had not done much. That's why he was traded. So it's like, this is a weird trade. Like, both guys haven't done literally anything. Is this going to work? And it worked out for us. I'm happy to say it. I got a lot of love for Jerry Hughes, but I have a lot more memories in the memory bank. I'll circle it back to Jarrod or Scott, whoever's next. I'm interested to see where you guys go.
There you go. I had one coming up here. Hold on. I want to get the Stevie Johnson dropping a pass. This is not a good memory, but I think it's a memory that everyone has, dropping that pass against the Steelers and to get us to the playoffs. You all remember that one. Mm-hmm. Jerry.
Yeah.
Give us a memoir.
So the date was January 3rd, 2010, Colts versus the Bills. Freddie Jackson's my favorite player. And Freddie, this is the last game of the season, needed 150 yards to get his first 1,000-yard game. And they fed him the ball like crazy. 33 carries. He needed 150, got 212 rushing yards. Went over the 1K mark for the first time in his career. I think the only time in his career. Scored a touchdown. But I remember just that game, like, keep giving him the ball, and he hit it. It was so exciting. I'll always remember that. And that game also put him in the record books for being the first player to ever get 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards kick returning in one season. Freddie Jackson, number 22. Love it. I'll always remember that game.
There you go. Archie, I got one that's going to talk for a little bit, and I think we'll all reflect on this one a little bit. So you go ahead and say yours first, my friend.
Sure. So the next one that I have is a draft day memory that I think I talked about it on this show. I hinted about it on this show once before. I had a tabby cat. His name was Chuck. That, God rest his soul, I had this cat for 17 years. And I need to talk about this for the perspective. So he was a cat that he did his own thing. He marched to the beat of his own drum. For whatever reason, my mom, and still to this day, she does it. I get on her case about it all the time, but she leaves candles around the house. And she had a genius idea on the eve of the NFL draft, she had a genius idea to put a candle on our entertainment stand that you mentioned, that you had a big, giant entertainment stand. Chuck knocks it over. The wax goes into the TV. And the
Steelers
TV
coach Chuck Knox?
No, not. I don't know if he was named after Chuck Knox. I have to ask my dad that. My dad did like Chuck Knox, so maybe you might be onto something there. But, no. Me and my dad were just like in shock. We were watching like pre-draft stuff, 2003, and we ended up having to go to Walmart and buying like this tiny little TV to just plug into the wall and get the bunny ears and stuff. So the next day, Buffalo is on the clock, 23rd overall pick, and they take a running back that 2 months prior we had seen him blow out his knee in a bowl game representing the Miami Hurricanes, none other than Willis McGahee. And my dad and I were so shocked that we were just laughing our asses off because we could not believe that the Bills, while they had Travis Henry, would take a running back that, albeit a running back that couldn't even play his rookie season. So that was a huge shock. I'll never forget it, watching it on this tiny little TV, and the volume didn't go that high. And I remember it showed Willis McGahee with Drew Rosenhaus, and then they put the Bills hat on him. And I thought, holy smokes. He's a player that I really liked in college, but I was just shocked that they drafted him in the first round, knowing that he had the devastating injury that he did.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure where I was watching it, but I remember that. I think that was one of the first highlights they showed after they drafted him, was him blowing out his knee. So I was like, oh, my God. Boy, he ended up having not that bad of a career. Didn't do all that amazing in Buffalo, but then he played for Baltimore. And
2004, he had 1,128 rushing yards with 13 touchdowns for the Bills.
Yeah, he had a real good stretch one year where he had like 4 touchdowns one game, 2 touchdowns one, and then 3 touchdowns in another, and he got hot. And then I was really disappointed when he started to talk smack about Buffalo and say that the team should move to Toronto. And for a franchise running back to say that at a time when the franchise was not secure in Buffalo, it was really, really bad, bad timing. And it actually put a lot of fear in the hearts of Bills fans from what I remember. So, that's what makes me happy that he didn't play his entire career here, because if I've said anything more than once on any show, if you don't want to be in Buffalo, you don't got to be in Buffalo. We only want people that want to be here, right? That's a huge part of what makes players that love Buffalo even more special.
Right. You got a couple memories here. Patrick Hughes says Frank Gore passing Walter Payton for 3rd most rushing touchdowns of all time. He did that here in Buffalo. Corey Blaine killing Aaron Rodgers' dreams in New York in 3 minutes.
Oh,
that was a good memory. Signing Lynch. Yep.
Yeah, Marshawn.
Here's a bad memory. Moving up to get Watkins. I still believe Watkins could have been something special. It just didn't happen. You mentioned the Pagula thing, RT, and that's one of the memories. I got two memories I want to bring up. First of all, and two of the most recent that we can that gave us all a whoo kind of moment. And the first one happened, I believe, in the September of 2014. Many Bills fans, obviously, that watched the Bills longer than us, kind of knew Ralph Wilson was not doing so well and what was going to happen when he passed away. And the speculations, I mean, we heard them all. Bon Jovi taking him to Canada, possibly Buffalo going to L.A., and it was in September 2014 when the Pagulas said we own a football team in Buffalo. I mean, I'm doing a sigh of relief right here because we don't know where our Buffalo Bills would have been. This is 9 years ago. I'm only 34 years old. I'm thinking my favorite team I've been watching for this long is going to go somewhere else. And when I heard that news, I would remember it till the day I die that the Buffalo Bills are going to stay put until at least the day that I do die. And that was one of those moments. What were you guys doing?
This is gonna get me a little frosty in the eyes. You know what I mean? I was in college at the time, and I was in this terrible art class. It was so boring. It was just terrible. And I had an iPhone. It was like my iPhone 5. And the teacher was talking about what art.
Do you have a case of all these phones, real quick, RT? Do you have a case in the background?
They're long gone, but it goes with the times. Though you see what originally I didn't have a phone when I was like 7, but then MV2 graduated to the iPhone, and my phone goes off. It's the hey notification, and I see that Terry Pagula buys the team for $1.425 billion or something like that. And I just got so emotional in that class. I started thinking about the fact that they were going to stay, started thinking about the fact that Terry Pagula, who owned the Sabres, owns still to this day, of course, the Sabres, and knowing that I was going to get to experience the many more generations of fanhood that my grandpa got to experience, that it hit me like a ton of bricks. I literally had to ask her if I could run to the restroom and get like a hall pass because I was emotional. It was really, really emotional moment. And it's what's allowed me to experience being on shows like this, being on shows like this and having my own podcast and being a fan in more ways than one, and wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for Terry and Kim. And obviously, thoughts and prayers are with Kim with all the things that she's gone through this last year, and Terry and the family. And Kim got a huge win, Jessica got a huge win in tennis. She's going on to the Berlin Open Championship. So shout out to her as well. But great family.
Jarrod, were we hanging out when we heard this news? What were you doing?
I think we were, but it was such a sigh of relief, I mean, when they're going to be here. And then I think the original note was till 2025. And then as the years go on, now we're starting to realize, now we found out that they're going to build a stadium. So they're not going to just build a stadium to be here for a couple of years. It's going to be here longer now. And there's something written in the contract, even after Pagulas pass away, they still can't sell the team until, I don't even know the year, but they're going to be around for a while. And this family just made Bill's dreams come true, knowing that we get to root for a team still in the same city that we love. So yeah, just sigh of relief.
Very cool. And this next one's going to be pretty cool too. So I'm going to touch on a couple of our comments from the fans. Kevin Everett. Yep. That was a memory. Started off as a bad memory, but knowing that he's doing a hell of a lot better, I believe. The modern technology. I remember hearing the things that they did to help save his back and his spine, and his immediately giving him off the field, doing that that cryo, keeping everything cold so the swelling would keep down. This medical team that this Buffalo Bills have always been pretty remarkable, and they've always done a great job. But I was watching that game. Do you guys remember that game?
Yep.
Seeing Kevin Everett lying motionless on the field.
Yeah. The moment where I knew something was really wrong was the twitching. There was like a twitch. The fibers were not moving, on all cylinders. And Dominic Hickson, he ran into, a collision, and then Dominic Hickson ended up on the Giants, had that huge kickoff return in the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yep.
In both of them, I think he had two really big kickoff returns, if I remember right. But yeah, Andrew Cappuccino was the doctor, and he's from Lockport. He's from my hometown. I remember when that happened, and I heard the name of the doctor. My thought was, that's the house that gives out these giant candy bars on Halloween. That was his office. He had his office like off of his house. It was really, really nice house that I think he's still in the area, but he saved Kevin Everett's life, allowed him to walk again, and what a miracle worker that guy is. One of the best doctors in the country.
Right.
Absolutely.
And they're gonna bring up the Jim Kelly telling us Mafia is cancer free. Did they just open up something out your way, RT? Jim Kelly did the ribbon cutting for. What was it?
That was New York Beer Project.
New York Beer Project.
Yes. NYBP OP. So there's NYBP in Lockport where I'm from, and then there's NYBP OP where Jim Kelly cut the ribbon, and I wanted to go to that event so bad. I couldn't make it, but from what I've seen and heard, Jim is doing really well. So there's few guys in the league history at the position that were as tough as him, and there's few guys that are as tough as him off the field too. Right. So shout out to him. I'm really happy that he's so dialed into the team still, really tight with Josh Allen. They did that whole passing of the torch Buffalo Bills football moment. That was a really cool photo and little doc that they did. Yeah, he's the Buffalo GOAT. He really
Scott,
is.
we were at the game when he had the little speech at the beginning. I think it was the Miami game.
Yep.
And when he said "squish those fish," I don't think you look around, there wasn't a dry eye in the stadium, and it was packed. That's the game where it was home opener against the Dolphins, where they say there was 180,000 people there, 60 something in the stadium, and then 100 outside of it. It was crazy.
Crazy game.
That's awesome.
All right, guys, this is the last memory. We were all part of this. Let's see here. My notes. I don't need notes. The drought ending. December, I believe it was 31st, 2017. Buffalo Bills. The reason I'm bringing this memory up is because I am a huge fan of Kyle Williams, and so is my old man. He came over. I had to work that night, so he came over. We watched wearing both the Kyle Williams jerseys, what we thought was going to be Kyle Williams' last game as a Buffalo Bill. So we wore it. We watched the game. We watched him run for a touchdown in that game against the Dolphins. The Bills won it. I had to go to work, and I'm bopping in and out of my patients' rooms because they're watching the Bills game, the Cincinnati Bengals game too. And all of a sudden the screams, Dalton to Boyd, touchdown, Bills win, Bills go to the playoffs. And I think one of the biggest memories I have was knowing that Kyle Williams, being part of the game that watched him win with my dad, and then watching his moment with his family, with his sons there to where he finally made the playoff game was such emotion. I don't think there was a dry eye of anybody that saw that video of him celebrating, the look of shock when Boyd ran it in for the touchdown and ending the drought. I mean, what a feeling. I'll remember that till the day I die too, because of the scenarios that I was put through throughout the day, but it was an amazing time to go. And, Tyrod Taylor, our quarterback, it was just who'd have thunk. And Kyle Williams was a big part of it, and he deserved it. And that was a big moment.
Yeah, that was I remember the bar I was in when it happened, and there were two TVs. One was on one game and the other was on the Cincinnati-Baltimore game. And for whatever reason, everyone was watching this other game. And me, my dad, and my buddy Eric were watching the Cincinnati-Baltimore game. And I'm like, is anyone seeing what's going on right now? And like us three were watching it, and we weren't really paying attention. We were just zeroed in on that TV. And we just jumped, and I jumped, and the table got knocked over, and the chairs were all over the place, and everybody looked at us like, are they like fighting? Because it looked like me and my dad were like punching each other. We were punching each other in excitement, but everybody like thought there was like a fight breaking out between my dad and I. And I'm like, no, we're celebrating. It was one of the best days as a Bills fan that I've ever had. 100%.
Yeah, I just had a newborn, born in, actually it wasn't new. It was July. I was thinking Hadley for some reason. So I remember sitting there watching the them drive Cincinnati drive down the field, and I'm sitting right in front of the TV. Sarah's right behind me, and Boyd catches it and goes in. And I just remember sitting there, and I look back at Sarah, and go, "Oh my God, the Bills are going to make the playoffs." She's like, "What?" I go, "They're going to make the playoffs." And then we watched them make the kick, and then we had to wait for them, the Bengals, to stop the offense on the field. And then when they did, it was just amazing. It's like the feeling I couldn't really describe. You know what I mean? It's just like we haven't been there in so long. It's just happy. And then the next week or two, all you see is bar videos, home videos of people just celebrating, and the emotions just kept coming back and back and back, and Kyle Williams and the players hugging each other, and it was great. And McDermott sitting there going, "Time to go to work, time to go to work," and it just started it all.
To not have to wait for that scenario again has been a beautiful thing as a Buffalo Bills. And we won't talk about it, but my next best memory is the Buffalo Bills drafting Josh Allen.
Josh Allen!
Thanks to him, we have not had to go through a drought, and the boy has taken us to playoffs after playoffs, and it's time for a Super Bowl run. Comments were in like crazy today, guys. Appreciate it. As you know, this is your show just as much as it is ours. Thanks to the Buff fan base, the network we belong to, for partnering up with us. It's been an amazing 2 years. 26 Shirts as a sponsor. Doing great things over there. Like I said, hit up 26shirts.com. Del Reed and gang are doing amazing things. Guys, we're in overtime. We're not going to go too far over. I just want some of your final thoughts. It was a fun show talking about the memories. Again, Swank will be back next week. Jarrod and I will be off. We'll actually be in Murals Inlet in South Carolina. They got a nice beach out there for the 4th of July. They got nice fireworks and all that stuff. So
best
should
holiday.
be an awesome time. But RT, thanks again for joining us. Jarrod, as always, I do want your final thoughts. I'll start with you, RT. Tell the people where they can find you, when to tune in, and all that good stuff. Jarrod just left. Must be electric.
Yeah, of course, where to find me Wednesday nights at 8 on the Buffalo Fanbase Podcast Network. I will be on tomorrow night talking about a lot of really cool topics, Buffalo sports-wise, that kind of coincide with the Bills and a little bit of Sabres as well. The Sabres offseason started today with the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup last night. So there's a lot of talking points there. I really have enjoyed working with these guys. For the people tuning in, these guys meaning, the guy to my left. I'll just say that. Of course, Scott Swank, for Swank, if he's watching, it's been too long. I'm looking forward to chatting with him again. And Jarrod, always a pleasure. But you guys can follow me at Ryan Thomas Take on X as well, the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on YouTube. Subscribe and like my Facebook page. Try to stay as active as possible. Try to put out as much content throughout the week as I can. YouTube Shorts, a little bit of fantasy football stuff will be on the horizon. I got a title to defend in the K-Gun League, so of course I'm going to be pumped and ready to rock and roll as always.
Rock and roll. Love it, RT. And RT is actually part of the Sunday Sessions, guys. So in a couple months from now,
can't wait for that.
When the season starts, another Buff Fan Base Network program, 24/7 Buff Pandemonium presents the Sunday Sessions. We're on an hour and a half before every game starts with our final thoughts, actives and inactives, and a couple last minute stuff before the game. My final thought is thanking the Pandemonium. You guys are awesome, Bills Mafia, for sure. With the comments, you do this. The comments coming in keeps us going. It's that therapy that we need during the off season, and you guys are kicking ass even during the off season. The regular season Rager information will be coming out about that. Again, it's at Reinvention Brewing, August 31st. We got a bunch of stuff already planned. We just need to finalize some things, and the event will be out, so you guys have a look, something to look at and get excited for, just like we are. RT will be there. It's a good old time. And again, tomorrow 8 o'clock, tune in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Can't wait to hear you, see what you're talking about, RT. And thanks for being part of the show, brother. And Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia, love you. And Swank will see you next Tuesday. Give him hell. Cheers. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills!